Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon or morning whenever you choose to watch this. So we're now at the end of March 2022 as I record this. Clocks have changed, it's much lighter, and last week here in the UK we had a really hot spell. So we start to get more into the summery mood. And in the summer we tend to drink more fluids, we might even drink more alcohol. And so today I thought I would focus on our fluids for health. We spend a lot of time, or I certainly spend a lot of time, talking and thinking about what we should be eating for good health in all aspects and different areas of our health. But how often do you stop and think about the impact that your fluid choices are having on your health? How much should you be drinking? What about your tea and coffee intake? What about, your squashes? Should you have the sugary ones? Should you go for the low sugar ones? What about the fizzy drinks? How much water should you have? I thought I'd cover all these in my 20 minutes tonight, and I'm going to rattle through this to give you the real highlights to help you choose your fluid intakes carefully so that you're optimizing your choices for your overall health. I thought I'd start with tea and coffee. Most of us and most of my clients are certainly drinking tea and coffee. I like a bit of coffee. I drink a bit of coffee every day. But we need to stop and think about the impact that these drinks are having on our health. Now, first of all, with coffee, whilst these days we do say that coffee as a fluid counts towards our overall fluid intake and it's not dehydrating, I think we do need to be aware that it does have a little bit of a diuretic effect on our health. It might make us wee a bit more, and when we're weeing more and taking more fluid out of the body, it might have an impact on our electrolyte and our salt balance. So if you are drinking a lot of strong coffee throughout the day, you may find that you're excreting too much sodium and hanging on to too much potassium. Does that matter? Well, yes, it does. These minerals are known as electrolytes, and they have a really, really important role on managing this very, very delicate electrolyte balance. Very important role to play in our blood pressure regulation. But if we don't take care of that, it can have an impact on our nerve function. And if they get really out of balance and you get too much potassium and too little sodium in the body, it can lead to an erratic heartbeat. It can cause shortness of breath or fatigue or confusion. So we need to be really, really careful that we're not having way too much coffee in our diets throughout the day, particularly if that's your main source of fluid. Be really, really careful of that. The other thing with these drinks, particularly tea and coffee, is its impact on our digestive capability. If you're drinking tea and coffee close to meal times, it can really impair digestive secretions. It can really upset the body when it's trying to digest food. They are certainly not the best drinks to have when you're eating a meal. And there's another reason as well why we need to watch those teas and coffees with a meal. It's because, particularly tea in particular, but also coffee as well, is that they can, chemicals in them can bind to our minerals. So our minerals like iron and calcium, even zinc, maybe magnesium, it can bind to the minerals in the gut. So you can have the most fantastic meal and you can be getting all these wonderful minerals in the meal, but if you have these drinks at the same time or immediately after eating, say you end your meal with a cup of tea, then what happens is the tannins, for example, in the tea can bind to the minerals and it makes less available to be absorbed into the bloodstream. So this can have a negative impact on the amount of iron available for the body, the amount of calcium or magnesium available, which is really important for our bone health, zinc that's important for our immune system, for example. It just ends up excreting too much out of the body. We don't want that to happen, do we? So don't have those drinks too close to meal times and don't drink too much overall. The other thing I want to mention is the role of caffeine as a stimulant. And what I mean by that is the stimulant effect means it stimulates the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are the ones that pump out adrenaline and cortisol, our stress response. We have enough stress in our lifestyle without having an additional stress response coming from our fluid choices. So, you know, we don't want to overstimulate our adrenal glands to be pumping out additional adrenaline and additional cortisol from the stimulant response that they cause. So my verdict with tea and coffee: enjoy them in small amounts. A couple of cups of tea or coffee, or combined, per day is sufficient and is okay. But you don't want to be having too much. One of the recent research studies has shown actually a little bit of coffee, because of the flavonoid content, and this is coming from the good coffee, not from the instant coffee, but when you have proper coffee, a little bit of coffee is actually protective of liver function, may help protect the liver against cancer. I use the word may. Of course, it's far more complicated than that, but there is research to show it can have a protective effect for the liver. So by all means, enjoy a couple of cups of good quality coffee a day. Keep it well away from your meal times. And keep it well away at night time, because the stimulant effect may prevent you from having a good quality night's sleep. But keep it at 2 cups a day and no more than that. Now, what about squashes? What about fruit juice? And what about fizzy drinks? First of all, let's think about the sugar content of those. With fruit juice as well as with our squashes, if they're fruity, sugary ones, and our fizzy drinks. The NHS says we should not have more than 30 grams of sugar, additional sugar intake from our food sources, and this does count as well from our fluid choices as well. 30 grams of sugar from all sources as an additional intake per day. We don't need additional sugar. We shouldn't have it at all, so we need to keep it to a minimum, and most of us have way more than 30 grams a day. Now, are you aware that 1 can of fizzy drink of a well-known brand contains 30 grams of sugar? So if we're not supposed to have more than 30 grams of sugar in total per day from our food as well as our fruit and our drink choices, and 1 can of fizzy drinks has more than that, then we know we shouldn't really be going near fizzy drinks at all. And fruit juice, you know, if we have fruit juice, a standard size glass of fruit juice can contain 8 to 12 grams of sugar. Fruit is very high in sugar. When you juice it, you're getting an instant hit of sugar going straight into the bloodstream quite rapidly. Not good for the body at all. Particularly if it's the fruit juice that you're buying that's got no fibre intake, because the fibre can slow the speed of that sugar intake. So it's not a good idea to be having a lot of fruit juice. In fact, I would say 0 fruit juice, pure fruit juice, as a drink at all. Not good because of the sugar impact. You're much better off eating a small orange than you are having a glass of orange juice because of the sugar hit that you're going to get. Now, what about other fizzy drinks? So dark coloured fizzy drinks, I'm not going to talk about brands. I think you probably know what I'm referring to when I say a dark coloured fizzy drink. It's very, very high in phosphoric acid. In fact, if I go back to the sugar intake, I remember hearing that if you put a tooth in a glass of this type of fizzy drink, the sugary sort, that tooth is going to dissolve overnight or something like that. It dissolves really quickly because of the sugar intake. But let's go back to the phosphoric acid concept for a moment. So dark coloured fizzy drinks, very high in phosphoric acid. Other fizzy drinks will contain phosphoric acid as well. Phosphoric acid, being an acid, has a real impact on your bones. So bear with me while I explain this. If your blood is too acidic, it will leach calcium from the bones to reduce the acidic impact of the blood. The blood needs to be more alkaline. Calcium will make the blood more alkaline. It's a very careful, very delicate effect going on in the body to keep the blood blood in the correct pH balance, not making it too acidic. We need to keep the blood more alkaline. So the body will detect blood is too acidic. We need to make it more alkaline. How can we do that? It will take calcium from your bones. There's been research to show that menopausal women who are more prone to have weaker bones because of the estrogen, less estrogen impact. We don't have to have weak bones because we're menopausal, but I'm just saying because there's less estrogen, menopausal women, there is a greater risk factor to have poor bone health if you drink the drinks with this phosphoric acid in. My verdict is avoid all of these drinks as much as you can. The sugary squash, the sugary fruit juice, the sugary or not sugary fizzy drinks, they are not welcome in our diet. And yeah, if you think it's a treat, keep it as a treat, but keep it as an absolute minimum in your diet, or just don't go near them at all. So what about low calorie drinks? You know, we think, well, I won't have the sugary ones. I'll go for the low cal ones. They're going to be much better for me. So let's put the sugar to one side. What's the impact of the low sugar ones? Well, think about what they've replaced the sugar with. It's with some sort of sweetener. Now, whilst the sweeteners may have passed the food regulation standards as being safe in the diet, you know, what are the long-term consequences of having these sweeteners in the diet? And there's been more research around the sweeteners. I'm quite concerned about these, about how healthy they are. They are not healthy to the body. You know, how can you put chemicals in the body and say they are going to be healthy? No, they're not healthy. They're not sugary, but they're not healthy to the body. So what is the negative impact that they may have on the body? There's two things I would like you to be aware of. One of them is to do with weight control, and the other one is to do with what I call gut dysbiosis and the gut microbiome. So what is it about weight control? Well, there's research to show that when we use sweeteners, they confuse the brain. The brain gets very confused to do with satiety signals. Has it been satisfied? Is it still hungry? It gets confused by the signals that are coming from the sweeteners. The sweeteners have a very sweet feeling in the body, but it confuses the brain. The brain doesn't really seem to know what is going on. That's what the research is showing. And it can activate the satiety signals and encourage appetite. There's research to show that the more people use sweetened drinks or foods, you know, there's a lot of foods now with sweetened, artificial sweeteners in them, that we end up eating more, not less. It doesn't lead to controlling appetite, and you may end up eating more. So it can increase the desire for sweet food. And there's research to suggest that actually it's increasing obesity and weight gain, not helping it in the slightest at all. So from a weight point of view, I would say that's not going to be a good choice for you to go for the the artificially sweetened drinks. Now, my big concern is always focusing on the gut health. You know, my focus is around gut health has to come first and foremost in how we take care of our health. And there's more and more research to show that these sweeteners are having a really detrimental impact on the gut microbiome. It changes the composition between the beneficial, commensal, the good guys, the good bacteria that we need in abundance and in diversity for our overall health in every aspect, whether it's our brain health, whether it's our weight, whether it's our mood, whether it's autoimmune conditions, skin health, whatever it may be. There's a lot of research to show it's disrupting the good bacteria balance, but also could be stimulating pathogenic bacteria. And the more we negatively impact the growth and the diversity of our good bacteria, it can encourage pathogenic bacteria to be able to thrive and grow. So my verdict is absolutely avoid. I would much rather you or my clients have a tiny amount of cordial in a glass of with a glass of water, if that's the only way you can drink water, and I'm going to come on to talk about hydrating fluids next, rather than go for the artificial sweetened. I really dislike them, and I try and keep them out of my diet completely. I don't like them at all. Now, what about good hydrating fluids? Well, of course, we know water is going to be a good hydrating fluid, but it doesn't have to be just water. You can have herbal and fruit teas, and they count just as well towards your hydrating fluid drinks as water. Of course, water is going to be brilliant for you. But what if you dislike water? Some of my clients don't like the taste of water, and I encourage them to say by adding slices of lemon or orange, maybe add some mint, maybe add some cucumber, as a way of naturally flavouring your water so that it's more palatable to you, so that you can drink more. If you don't like water, you may find you like it when it's kept in the fridge and it's colder, or you may prefer it when it's warmer. Doesn't matter if it's cold or warm or room temperature. I like room temperature water. Can't stand it when it's freezing cold. Like to start my day with a glass of hot water with lemon and ginger. That's the way I start my day. I like water. That's what I like to drink. I much prefer it at room temperature. You choose how you like it best. Try and sip it throughout the day. Try not to drink loads of water at meal times, because that can make the digestive secretions too dilute. So don't think, oh, it's a meal time, I haven't drunk all morning, I haven't drunk all afternoon, I need to catch up now with my fluid intake. That's not the best way to do it. You need to be sipping it throughout the day. You can jazz it up with some flavour if you need to, but go for natural herbal teas or fruit teas, but not green tea. People always think, oh, herbal tea, green tea. Green tea's actually got quite a lot of caffeine in, and the tannins. It goes back to the concept I talked about at the start. I love some of the pucker teas and the yogi teas. You know, just go to the supermarket and see what's there. Yes, you can get better quality ones, and you can go for the ones that haven't got the chlorinated bleach tea bags. You know, I could take it a step further in this talk, but I tried to keep it quite simple for you to follow. So some herbal teas are absolutely fine to include in your hydrating fluids. That's not a problem at all. A little bit of sparkling water is okay, but I wouldn't go too heavy on that. Some people find it affects their digestion and you can end up feeling quite bloated. So a little bit of sparkling water is okay, but don't make it your main go-to as your water choice. But a little bit's fine. Now, how much fluid do you need in a day? You ideally need about 2 litres. Some people think and read that we need to be drinking more and more fluid, and the more the better, and that is absolutely not true. And it goes back to those little pesky electrolytes that I mentioned at the start. So the electrolytes is what keeps our body in balance, keeps our fluid in balance, helps our blood pressure, helps our nerve impulses, keeps us in balance. We need to keep that sodium potassium level in balance. If you were to drink litres of water in one go, it's very, very detrimental to that electrolyte balance, and it's an absolute no-go. You need to sip your fluid intake throughout the day. Yes, if you've just done an intensive workout, you're going to need more fluid, but the warmer it gets and the longer your workout's going to be, like if you're running a marathon, for example, then I would think about adding a little bit of electrolytes to your fluid. Even a little bit of Himalayan salt is actually quite a good thing to add to your fluid, your water, if you're going to be taking on board quite a lot, because it's a long and lengthy workout. But if it's your standard class and your standard workout, half a litre of water is sufficient and you don't need any more than that. So typically 2 litres of fluid in a day, not just water, 2 litres of fluid. Most of it needs to come from your hydrating sources, and you might add on another half a litre, maybe up to 3 litres maximum in a day. No more, absolutely no more. And you need to sip it throughout the day to keep your electrolytes in balance. And as I said, if you're sweating a lot, or it's a very long, intensive, long workout, you know, long run or something, and it's a hot day, then you could add some Himalayan salts, a pinch of that to your fluid, and that's going to help to keep your electrolytes in balance. If you feel thirsty, it's a sign you're dehydrated. If you get to the point where you're dehydrated, you've gone beyond being thirsty, which is why we need to sip our fluids throughout the day. And some people, I think, mistake thirst for hunger, or should I say hunger for thirst. So actually we eat when we should be drinking. So just make sure that actually it's thirst. It's not thirst, actually, or is it hunger? Be very, very careful. I think when we don't drink enough, we lose the ability to recognize our thirst signals. And when we get into the habit of drinking on a regular basis, we feel that thirst, we notice it. I certainly notice it. I couldn't go out of the house for a long period of time without taking water with me. I don't take plastic bottles anymore. You know, I've got my stainless steel bottle of water, great in the summer, keeps the water chilled. Because I notice that thirst signal now, which I never perhaps wouldn't have noticed in years gone by. And I think we can forget and lose that thirst signal. So just be a little bit aware of that. Sip your drinks throughout the day, a couple of cups of tea and coffee. As I said, good quality coffee, a little bit of tea, absolutely fine. Don't go mad on it. And your 2 litres of fluid is total fluid intake. It's not 2 litres of water and then a cup of herbal teas on top, because bearing in mind keeping that electrolyte balance in check throughout the day. And if you take on board all of that advice, that is so important, in addition to everything else that you might be doing towards looking after, you know, the meals that you're eating and the food that you're eating. It's just as important to be looking after your fluid intake as well as what you're eating. So I hope you found that useful today. I'll be back on my regular Tuesday. So I'm a bit out of sync this week, but I'll be back on my Tuesday next week at 6 o'clock. And I hope to see you there. I am always looking for more ideas of what you'd like me to talk about. So please drop in a message to me here, privately message me if you don't want to say. I'm always interested for your ideas of anything that's going to be helpful to help you take care of your health. And all my videos from my lives go into my YouTube channel called Peyton Principles Natural Health. Please come and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers, because then I can have a private channel properly labeled under my name, which I'd love to achieve. So come and check out my videos that are there. There's well over 100 in my channel now. So please come and look for them there. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again. Hope to see you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.